No music.
I guess we'll just sit here in silence. I'm gonna see if that makes a difference. My nose is, there, that's a little better. There's my nose.
Hello, nose.
Hello, nose. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Ann. We have no music today because, wowzers, are you kidding me, Facebook? Almost half the world, a third of the world is on Facebook, and you chose yesterday to somehow capture that I was playing Linus and Lucy from Charlie Brown Christmas and shut that whole thing down. So we did finally get it posted. If you go scroll down a little bit in Daily Dose, you will see that I wrote a blog post with a link to YouTube. We had to bootleg it a little bit, but I felt okay doing it because it was our own content. So sorry about the debacle that was yesterday, but we're back and there's no music. So I guess unless we make some sort of inflammatory hate speech during our Daily Dose, we should be okay. And I don't expect to be inflammatory, do you? I like to save inflammatory for Fridays.
I wasn't planning on it.
Okay, good, good. So anyway, first things first, second things first, I guess, since we did our first things first. Happy birthday to our boy, Quinn. He's 25 today.
25. Still a pup.
I don't know.
No,
that's
he's old.
Amazing. If he's old, how old does that make me?
We
Wowzers.
are Twilighters.
No, we're not.
We are.
Twilight is like 85. We are not Twilighters. This sounds like...
We're sunsetters.
No, we're not. That sounds like things are wrapping up.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it's getting...
No, we're not in... No.
All right, we've red shifted.
I don't know what that means, but I don't think I like that either.
We're moving it further into the distance.
I don't like any of that. Anyway, happy birthday to our boy.
Yeah, happy birthday, Quinn.
I just wrote a big blog post all about the day he was born and some stuff that I really like about him that I'll post right after Daily Dose. So you can check that out if you are interested in it on Dana Del Val. But today we're actually talking about a TED Talk because we haven't really discussed a name yet for Wednesday. So we'll go with food for thought for today. May stick with it or not. But anyway, I found it a couple days ago. Then I had you watch it, and now you're going to talk about it.
Well, we're going to talk about it. It's by a woman called Susan David. Now, that might not be how she pronounces her second name because she's South African, so it might be David.
Who cares?
But she gave a fantastic speech on the gift and power of emotional courage. Now, just throwing it over to you for a sec. What does that mean to you off the top of your head?
I think emotional courage is standing up for what you believe in or supporting what matters to you, even when it would be easier to do nothing. There are lots of moments in history that we talk about, those young kind of freedom fighters in Germany who risked their own lives. I mean, that's an extreme version of it. Most of us are not called to do that. But it comes back to integrity for me. What are you willing to stand up for? What really matters to you? How about you?
It is. It's kind of, to me, it was all about listening to your inner voice. She actually states in her presentation that our thoughts, our emotions, and our stories, in other words, what we are, help us thrive in an increasing and complex, fraught world. And today more than ever, or these days more than ever, it's important to listen to what you really think.
Yeah, it's often so loud, both externally and inside our brains. I've written a lot about in relation to Quinn's birthday. Through much of my pregnancy, it felt like I was at a rave in my brain. It was just screaming all the time because the pressure felt so intense and my uncertainty was so profound that I couldn't find silence ever. So I could not hear that still small voice that can be your North Star. And you've talked about that too.
And she goes on to say that normal, natural emotions are now seen as good and evil, and being able to understand...
Good or bad.
Good or bad. And being able to understand the two of them is the tenet of who you are as a human being.
Yeah, you know, it's easy, and boy, I am as guilty of this as anyone, so I'll put it on myself. It's easy to think of the world as being either or. You are either this or you're that we live in a very black and white world, when of course we know that the world is not binary. There is this huge gray area in the middle. So you can be a very, very liberal person on one hand who leans conservatively towards something, a particular agenda item, or vice versa. You can be, you know, devastated by the human loss of COVID and not be as careful as you should be to avoid it for yourself. There isn't this 100% and 100% and nothing in the middle.
And she also goes on to say that it's important to listen to these inner voices and to think it through. There was a statement here, there was lots of research done on emotional suppression.
She's a researcher, by the way, at Harvard.
Yeah.
Sorry.
She's a psychologist. If you push your emotions away and ignore them, so you get pent-up fear as well, you're going to feel more fear. If you've got pent-up anger and you don't express it, and expressing it would maybe have someone to help you understand that you've got nothing to be angry about. But she says that gets built up. They call it, psychologists call it amplification. And she went on to say, who pays the price for that? Us. We do. Our children, our colleagues, our communities all pay for it. You can, you know, think about, here's a fantastic example. Look what happened in DC on the 6th of January. That was pent-up fear and anger exploding, and 5 people died. She also goes on to say, and something that I found very interesting and actually strangely funny at the same time, is that you have to decide how to motivate yourself. You know,
are you going to just read this?
No. She says, why are you afraid of change? Why are you afraid of trying something that you might fail at? So she said people come up to her and say things like, I don't want to try because I don't want to feel disappointed. Or, I just want this feeling to go away. And she'd say, I understand, I say to them, but you have dead people's goals, which is brilliant.
We'll tag we'll post the talk because it's well worth watching, but that's a very funny moment, and I'm sorry we obviously gave it away, but it's part of the conversation.
And then she went on to say that only dead people never get unwanted or inconvenienced by their feelings. Only dead people never get stressed, never get broken hearts, never experience a disappointment that comes with failure. People learn from failure. One of the things I learned when I was doing the leadership one-on-one faculty development thing I've done, it's a great phrase. You're not a leader until you've lost.
I can affirm
You can be a victim of your own success. If you come across something that you never beat, you don't know how to deal with failure, and out of failure comes the real ability to lead.
Well, not to mention the fact that out of failure comes new experience. So you can say, boy, I tried this and look what happened. What can I take from it, both to avoid and to lean into? And if you never fail, I also think you never actually know how amazing then it feels to succeed. If your whole life is about winning, either you're living too small or you are extraordinarily lucky, and that's just not realistic.
Plus the fact you actually lose track of what you were trying to win and why.
Yeah.
And for whom.
We do so much more contemplating, so much more personal mining and growth. I mean, who you have become. Let me share this with you. I'm sorry, I'm just starting and stopping sentences. Good thing no one has to transcribe this. The first night I met Maz, September 11th, 2001, we were throwing a football back and forth. He had just gotten back from a conference in the south of France, and we were meeting in person for the first time. And this is what he said to me about 1 a.m. He threw the football with his right hand and said this: I've done a bunch of looking into myself, I'm good. I'm good. I got nothing more to like figure out.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I mean, we're talking almost 20 years ago. That moment is so clear in my mind because I thought to myself in that moment, this guy's either delusional or not very bright. And someone with a stronger sense of what she deserved would have said, you know what, it's late. You should probably get going, and sent him on his way. Because that is an asinine thing to say. First of all, you were 32 years old. 31 years old. That's right.
That makes all the difference, right?
I mean, what do you mean you have it all figured out? And guess what? For the next 16 years, he steadily declined in his lack of introspection. And it wasn't until you hit the bottom, until you failed epically, and we failed, that we actually started to dig into who we are individually, as a couple, what we valued, what we learned from that failure. And if you take nothing away from my side of Daily Dose, I may not have become an addict, but I absolutely fell into that hole with Dr. Mary, and I had as much or more to learn about myself and what I needed to change and how I needed to pick myself up from this and take a new path as he did. You are not excused from the failure when you are the spouse, because you have played a role in it and you have something to take from it. So it's amazing.
It is. That statement of hers is going to stick with me for some time. I'm going to try never again to have the goals of a dead person.
Yeah. Which is why we don't talk about being in the sunset of our lives. I'm not even at noon.
In typical fashion for the red-headedness that's sat next to me, you fail to see the romance of living in a sunset.
Whatever.
See?
You know what? Again.
See, us Irish, we're all poets. This stuff's good. It's wasted sometimes.
Like episode 7,532, when we're in our 78th and 81st year, you can talk about this.
Okay.
But until then, we are not in the sunset of our lives. We are just getting started. So we'll post the link. I hope that you take the time to watch it and figure out for yourselves how to not have dead person goals. What an amazingly clear and profound thing to say. Have living person goals, which does definitely mean that sometimes you're going to fail.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you learn.
Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow with Chelsea Rusted-Swather, our guest. Really looking forward to her. She does my nails and she's coming to talk. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.